All right. So, today we are going to be diving into something
Okay.
that's pretty fundamental, to a lot of people's lives, and that is the world of male friendships.
Yeah.
And actually, this deep dive was prompted by you, our listeners.
Oh, cool.
So you asked us to kind of explore this, and so that's exactly what we're going to do.
Sounds good.
So our mission is simple. We're just going to try to kind of dig into, what makes these bonds tick.
Okay. Yeah. When you think about, how these friendships often begin,
Right.
it seems like, those shared activities, those are really important, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, for
Like
sure.
those building blocks almost.
Yeah.
So you think about like sports or, hobbies
Hmm.
or even, just that mutual like work grind.
Yeah.
Those are the things that sort of give that like initial common ground.
Totally. You get that, like, built-in connection right from the start.
Yeah.
And a reason to be in the same space, and a
Mhm.
ready-made language almost.
Yeah.
And then, one thing that I've always found fascinating is that you see this almost like universal element of like banter,
Oh, yeah.
that constant teasing,
Oh, totally.
which like from the outside, to
Yeah.
somebody who's not part of that group
Right.
might seem superficial.
Right. Yeah.
But I think for a lot of guys, it's actually a really important way that they connect.
I think so. Yeah.
So what do you think the underlying like mechanism is there?
Well, I think, the interesting thing is that
Yeah.
when you look at it closely, this banter, it's actually like a form of affection
Okay.
and boundary testing all at the same time.
Interesting.
So it's a way to kind of show like, hey, I'm comfortable enough with you to kind of, poke fun at you a little bit,
Right.
but also like, where are the lines,
Yeah.
And you're kind of figuring that out as you go,
Right.
without having to like make these, big emotional declarations.
Yeah.
But I think, it also kind of highlights the fact that like emotional intimacy in male friendships, it can be expressed in a lot of different ways.
For sure.
For you, it might be like, those deep conversations. But, for some other guys, it might be, just like that unwavering support in a crisis.
Right.
It's offered without a lot of words.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And as you go through life,
Yeah.
you really see how these friendships kind of shift and evolve.
Yeah.
Like your friendships that you have in college might look very different
Oh, yeah.
from the friendships that you have, in your 30s or your 40s
For sure.
when careers and family kind of become more central.
Right.
So how do you think those evolving priorities typically kind of reshape these bonds?
I think, if you connect it to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
what often happens is that these life stage changes really reveal like the strength
Okay.
of those
Oh.
core friendships.
Okay.
So like the frequency of contact might change,
Right.
but like that underlying loyalty
Yeah.
and the knowledge that, that support's there if you need it,
Right.
it often remains.
Yeah.
So it's less about, constantly being in touch, and it's more about,
Okay.
just having that like reliable foundation.
Gotcha.
And, I think this is where, societal expectations also play a huge role.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Like traditional masculinity,
Yeah.
can sometimes put up these walls that make it hard to like
Mhm.
express vulnerability or even to like actively seek emotional support
Right.
from your guy friends.
Yeah.
Because, there's this idea that you're supposed to be self-reliant.
Yeah, exactly.
And that can really affect how you engage in these relationships.
Right.
What are some of the ways that you've seen that like kind of play out in a less obvious way?
Well, I think, a really important point here is that the language of male friendship
Yeah.
is often just less direct.
Okay.
Support might be shown through like acts of service,
Right.
like helping you move or, offering practical advice
Yeah.
rather than actually saying like, hey, I'm here for you emotionally.
Right.
So it's more about demonstrating care through actions.
Interesting.
So you might actually underestimate the depth of a friendship
Mhm.
if you're only looking for those like overt emotional displays.
Okay, so I think the key takeaways here are
Yeah.
number one, like, shared activities being so important as a starting point.
For sure.
The role of banter being so multifaceted.
Yeah.
The fact that emotional intimacy can be expressed in so many different ways.
Right.
And then how, life stages kind of reshape these bonds.
Mhm.
And also, the influence of societal expectations.
Yeah.
And then also, this idea that support is often shown through action rather than just words.
Totally.
So it's a lot more like
Yeah.
nuanced and complicated than those like simple stereotypes would suggest.
Exactly. And I think it really emphasizes the fact that
Yeah.
male friendship, even though it can be, quieter in its like outward expression sometimes,
Right.
it really does provide this vital and often like understated source of connection and resilience
Totally.
in a lot of men's lives, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And I think this kind of leaves, you, the listener, with something to kind of consider.
Okay.
Think about the male friendships that are around you.
Yeah.
What are the subtle ways that care and support are being communicated?
Yeah.
What are the actions that kind of speak louder than words?
Mm-hmm.
It's just this reminder that the language of friendship can be surprisingly nuanced.
Totally.
So that's it for today's deep dive. We'll be back next week to tackle another listener submitted prompt.
See ya.
Until then, happy deep diving.
Bye.